Let's go live to the United States now. And joining me from Texas is Sky News political contributor Chris Uhlmann. Chris, big news the last week's been the Democratic convention. What's been the fallout? What's been the impact of their big showpiece?
Well, they're certainly energised. The base is energised. There's a lot of enthusiasm about Kamala Harris and the fact that she has made them competitive again. Because if you look at the polls across the country, what we've seen is that Trump was leading Biden by about 3 points in the polls nationally. Now Harris is leading Trump by about 3 points in the polls nationally. But when you look across all those states that need to be won, they're pretty much neck and neck. And don't forget that Trump has historically underperformed in the polls. But at this stage, Kieran, the momentum is with the Harris campaign, and clearly the Trump campaign is rattled by what they're seeing. Now the age problem is his problem, and he has to rebalance and try to find some way to fight back, and there are 70 days left before the election.
So just on that, has he found the best line of attack against the new opponent?
Well, Kieran, if you think that him talking to a rally and telling them that he was going to appoint hundreds of far-left liberal judges to impose the San Francisco worldview on the rest of the United States, then maybe that is a good line of attack. I don't think he has found his line and length yet. He was romping it in with Biden. I think that was the fight that he wanted to have, and probably the entire Republican movement underestimated Kamala Harris, given her performance as vice president, wasn't particularly good. And I know there is a lot of concern in the Democratic ranks that they don't think that she's a good candidate, and she'll be put to the test this week, in fact, because she hasn't done any sit-down interviews yet. But her and her running mate, Tim Walz, are sitting down with CNN on Thursday, US time. So that'll be an interesting one, but a double-header. I'd really like to have a look and see how she does on her own.
Yeah, indeed. That's a valid point. When you're going for your first big interview, normally you don't need your deputy with you, which is interesting in itself. But again, we wait to see the performance and the debates as well, which loom as a pivotal moment. Chris, as you look at this now and reflect on the possibilities ahead, what does it all mean for the USA on the world stage in your view?
Well, they're very, very different worldviews. We know what we saw from Trump last time round is that he believes that there are a lot of free riders on the United States, a lot of them in Europe, not necessarily in Australia. Although I think that if he started looking at our defence spending under AUKUS, he may come to the same conclusion about that. And he's determined that people who have alliances with the United States pay their way in that relationship. So I'm sure we'd see a rerun of that, and you'd be concerned about what would happen to the alliances under Trump, because it's not something that he particularly seems to value, nor does he particularly seem to want to be the leader of the free world. He's much more interested in what's going on in the United States. So certainly on that front, I think Australia would be very nervous about a return to a Trump presidency. Under Harris, I think you'd see more of the same as you did under Joe Biden, who was very big on alliances, and they have become really quite strong again under him. So two very different ways of looking at the world. So the American election is a big deal for Australia, and we'll all watch with a great deal of interest. I know you will, Kieran.
Yes, we will indeed. I look forward to chatting to you about it over the weeks ahead. Chris, thanks so much for joining us live from Houston.